Hi everyone, it's Nana and it's bedtime. So I hope you've had a really nice day today. Weather's been a bit weird. I got a bit wet when I was out on my walk today, but it's okay now and it's bedtime, so you'll all be snuggled up soon. And I've got another story from this little book and it's called The Lonely Lion. So I'll show you a picture. You see the poor lion, he's crying by the look of it. So if you're sitting nice and comfortably, then Nana will begin. Zack lived in a very old house. Some people said it was haunted. Certainly there were some very strange sounds to be heard from time to time, particularly at night. Sometimes it was the wind in the chimneys. Sometimes it was the owls perched hooting on the roof. Sometimes the noises made Zack's hair stand on end, and he didn't like to think what those were. One night Zack was wakened by a very mysterious noise. It wasn't the wind. It didn't make his hair stand on end. And it didn't come from roof or chimneys. It came from the garden. Zack got out of bed and slipped on his dressing gown. He opened the window and looked down into the moonlit garden. Two huge yellow eyes looked straight back up at him. Zack banged the window shut and shook with fright. The noise came again. Someone or something was crying. Plucking up his courage, Zack opened the window again. Looking up and sobbing as though its heart would break was an enormous lion. Tears rolled down his nose and it wiped them away with a paw the size of a soup plate. "Please, can I come in?" said the lion in a sniffy voice. "I'm lost and cold." Zack went downstairs and very nervously opened the front door. "Come in," he said. "If you are lost and cold, I'm hungry too," said the lion, with a look at Zack that made him more nervous than ever. "I'm not sure that I have any lion food," said Zack. "A slice of toast and a cup of tea will do nicely," said the lion. It followed Zack into the kitchen where he put some wood on the fire, and the lion sat down to warm itself when Zack filled the kettle. "Very nice," said the lion after a while, brushing toast crumbs from his whiskers. "You just don't get toast where I've come from." "And where's that?" asked Zack. "Africa?" "Wigan," said the lion. "Wigan Safari Park. I couldn't stand it a minute longer. I could have screamed with boredom. I did one day, or at least I roared, and there were complaints." "Who from?" asked Zack. "From the visitors, because I frightened them, and from the other lions, because I woke them up. There's nothing to do in a safari park but eat and sleep." "How do you get to be in a safari park?" asked Zack. "Oh, it's a very long story," said the lion. "I used to perform in Lord Jim's Royal Circus. I had a partner, Bert Ramsbottom. We were Captain Heroic and his man-eating lion. Bert wore his Captain Heroic uniform and I roared and snarled when he cracked his whip. Then I would leap up onto a little platform and sort of cringe while the people cheered and clapped Captain Heroic for being so brave. It wasn't easy, I can tell you." "What wasn't?" asked Zack. "Keeping a straight face," said the lion, "trying to look fierce and not to laugh. Because it was all really rather silly. Bert and I were the best of friends. And I do miss him." The lion sniffed again and wiped his eyes. "We always finished the act with Bert putting his head in my mouth. I didn't like that bit. His hairspray tasted awful. And I didn't like it when I had to do silly tricks, like walking on my front paws and turning cartwheels. Still, we were a great act until—" "Until what?" asked Zack. "A man from the council came one day to see Lord Jim. They didn't like circuses particularly animal acts. Lord Jim's Royal Circus closed down. I was retired. I don't know what happened to Bert, and I miss him terribly. And the music and the applause," and the lion began to cry once more. Then it wiped its eyes and said, "Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to sleep." And it curled up in front of the fire and started to snore. Zack went back to bed and fell asleep. wondering what on earth he was going to do with a runaway lion who had been in showbiz. When he woke in the morning, Zack hoped that perhaps it had been a dream. But the lion was sitting in the kitchen when he went downstairs. "How about a spot of breakfast then?" it said. They sat down with bowls of cornflakes. "I rather hoped you might have Rice Krispies," said the lion. "I like listening to them." Over toast and coffee, Zack introduced himself. "Pleased to meet you, Zack," said the lion. "I'm called Wallace, after an ancestor of mine. He was famous in his day. He lived in Blackpool Zoo. And they say he ate a boy called Albert. It was never proved." Zack switched on the radio. There was a brass band playing. "That's my music," cried Wallace. "Entry of the Gladiators." And he leapt up, knocking over the table and scattering the breakfast things in all directions. "I'll show you my act," he cried, "although it won't be the same without Captain Heroic." "Let's go outside," said Zack, and he hurriedly opened the front door before Wallace did any more damage. And there, on the front lawn of Zack's house, Wallace put on a show. "Not the same without Bert, but the man-eating lion bit," he explained. "But I'll show you some of the old silly tricks." And it was most entertaining all the same, as Wallace walked on his back paws, then he walked on his front paws, did somersaults and turned cartwheels. As he finished, there was a chorus of chirps, coos, mews, barks and whistles. 4 pigeons, a flock of sparrows, 2 stray cats and the Yorkshire Terrier from next door had come to watch. Wallace bowed low, and then he blew kisses to the audience. Thank you, bless you," he cried, while the tears rolled down his cheeks again. He's overdoing it a bit," thought Zack, but before he could think any further, there was an interruption. A crowd of men rushed onto the lawn. "There he is," they shouted. "Don't panic. Stay still, everybody." "What do you mean?" shouted Zack. "And who are you, anyway?" "It's all right," they shouted back. "We know how to deal with this dangerous wild animal." "Don't be silly," said Zack. "It's only Wallace. He's my friend and my guest, and what's more, you're trespassing." "We're from Wigan Safari Park," said the man, who seemed to be in charge. "Your friend ran away. He's caused, may I say, considerable inconvenience." At that, Wallace started to cry again. His lips trembled and he sobbed. "Don't let them take me back there. Let me stay." "I'd like to," said Zack, "but I don't really have accommodation for lions, particularly lions who are stars. But I do have an idea. You go back quietly to the safari park and, if my idea works out, everything will end happily." So Wallace went with the men who were So Wallace went with the men to where they had parked their truck. He climbed back into the back and the audience waved at him goodbye. Zack hurried into the house. In the phone book he found an entry for the Society of Circus Performers. He spoke to a friendly lady who said Ramsbottom. "I don't think his other name is Captain Heroic," said Zack. "Of course," said the lady, and she gave Zack Bert's address at the home for retired lion tamers. Zack wrote a letter. "Dear Mr. Ramsbottom, you don't know me, but I'm a friend of Wallace, the man-eating lion, and I have a plan." He wrote another letter, this time to the manager of Wigan Safari Park. Meanwhile, back at the safari park, Wallace was as bored as ever, until one day the manager drove up in his jeep that was painted to look like a zebra. He had a passenger. "Wallace," called the manager, "I have a visitor for you." A bald-headed gentleman got down. Wallace looked. No, it couldn't be. Yes, it was. "Bert!" he cried, and the 2 of them hugged each other while the tears rolled down their cheeks, and the other lions looked on in astonishment. The manager said, "Mr. Albert Ramsbottom is to be the safari park's new lion expert." Then he drove off again, leaving Bert and Wallace grinning at each other. Zack paid a visit to Wigan Safari Park. He met Bert, who told him that one of his ancestors had been eaten by a lion at Blackpool, so lion taming was, in a manner of speaking, in his blood. The 2 friends were still happily together at Wigan, and every year on Zack's birthday they pay him a visit. There on the lawn in front of the house they put on their act. Bert cracks his whip. Wallace roars and cringes, then winks at the audience to show that it's all in fun. And as Bert is bold and doesn't use hairspray, Wallace doesn't mind when he puts his head in his mouth. to the great delight of Zack and the pigeons, sparrows, stray cats and the Yorkshire Terrier from next door. That was a great story, wasn't it? Oh, poor Wallace. You see him again, he was really crying. But he really prefers Rice Krispies to toast. Must be a Wigan thing, because Grandad came from Wigan and he likes Rice Krispies. So, must be a Wigan thing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. That was a lovely story. A bit silly at times, but hey-ho. Well, I hope you sleep well and be really, really good. I love you so much. So take care. Be good. I love you and I'll see you tomorrow. I love you. Night, night. So I love you, Torben. I love you, Atty. I love you, Ruby. And I love you, Max. Bye.